Thanks so much for joining us for our special session on Padlet for Schools and engaging summer resources. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you haven't already. I already see we have some folks from the US, some from Portugal, and yeah, we're excited to welcome all of you here today. So just before we get started, just a few logistics. If you would like to turn on captions, you're welcome to do that within Zoom. There's a setting under the three dots to turn on captions, and you can turn on captions in English or in other languages. And you can also feel free to use the chat or the Q&A throughout the session to ask any questions. Feel free to do that at any time as we're going along. Anything that comes up, we'd love to hear from you. All right, so here is our agenda today. We're going to talk about some summer resources and some ways you might use all of the great things in Padlet for preparing for summer break. Along with that, we'll talk about using AI for planning. I know a lot of teachers have a little bit more time for planning for the next school year in the summer. So we have some great tools that will help you do that. And then at the end, we'll go over some resources and have more time for Q&A. But feel free to do that throughout the session, as I said. I will put the link to our to the Padlet that I'm using here in the chat, so you can follow along or reference that later if you want to. And some quick introductions also. My name is Zareen Levine. I'm the professional learning specialist here at Padlet. My background is as a high school and elementary classroom teacher here in San Francisco. And I've also been a digital learning and project-based learning coach and the director of digital learning here. So I'm really excited to be with Padlet now and be able to show all the teachers and educators out there some great things you can do with Padlet. And I also have with me Tosh Myers.
Hey everyone, Tosh. I'm the customer support manager here at Padlet. I'm happy to help out with any questions you all have in the chat or Q&A. Just keep them coming and you'll see my responses there. So excited for the session today. Thanks, Irene. Let's get going.
Great, thanks. And just to let you know, I put this link in the chat already. This is the Padlet that I'm presenting from today. And this is not as new of a feature, but a little bit less known feature called Slideshow. And that's what I've been just showing you in this other window here. You can take any Padlet and turn it into a slideshow very easily. You don't have to do any formatting or anything extra. You can just come to this play button on the side, and that'll open up a slideshow from the beginning of your Padlet. Or if you want to jump down to any later point in the Padlet, like right now, I'm ready to go down here. So I'm going to come to the three dots, and then I'm going to start the slideshow from this post here. All right, and the other great thing about this about slideshow, if you play around with it a little bit more, is it can show images like I'm showing here, but it can also show videos. So if you have a video in one of your posts, it'll play right in the slideshow, or if you have a PDF, it'll scroll in the slideshow. And if you're using it with students, if they're continuing to, or adults, if they're continuing to add posts to your Padlet, those will dynamically update as well. So as I'm going through the slideshow, it'll keep current with whatever is happening on the Padlet and kind of dynamically update. So I know a lot of people already know about Padlet, but very basically, Padlet is a place where you can make beautiful boards to collect, organize, and present anything. I'm going to show you a few examples, and then we're going to dive into some specific summer resources and some AI tools. So just to show you a couple things that we've seen from some different teachers. Teachers often use Padlet for discussions, and sometimes they're on current issues, sometimes they're on a variety of topics. I really enjoyed seeing this example of math word problems. So this is students who made up their own math word problems about something that they enjoyed in their lives. And you can see just a lot of personality coming through here from these wonderful students who maybe like animals or video games, or in this case, hamburgers and French fries. Some of them solved the problem solved the problem right there within the post. You could do something where students create problems and other students comment on them with the answers. You can see that they made use of a lot of different kinds of media here. So some uploaded images or animated GIFs here. You could upload videos, audio, all kinds of different attachments. This student even took a picture of him solving the problem, which I thought was really neat. So that's just a few examples of how you might kind of spice up your discussion boards with a lot more of the media attachments. This next example was created by a student group. So the 4 students worked together on a group project. And similar to how they might have done a poster or something offline, you could do something similar on Padlet where all the students jump into this Padlet and are working together on their research, putting it together with images, organizing it, designing it with different colors and different layouts. And then this one is really fun. This is our map format. And this example is the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And for these maps also have posts on them. And you can put images and other media in those posts as well as descriptions. This map can zoom in or out, so it can be about something historical or it can be about current day activities. Students could make these maps, or you could make it as something that they're learning about or researching. So just a few different examples of some of the things that are possible in Padlet. And also before I go ahead, I just wanted to show you, in case you haven't seen, most people have seen this now, but we have a brand new homepage and design for Padlet.com. So we've opened it up a lot. So we still have kind of our homepage that will have all of your current Padlets on it. But we now list out your bookmark folders. So that's a really great tool to use if you're not yet. You can create new folders down here to keep all of your Padlets organized. We have a gallery of templates that we've had for a little while, but now it's a little bit more highlighted here. And over 250 templates for education purposes and for other categories as well. And you can search in here too to find things. We also have this new Learn dashboard where you can watch videos to get started on Padlet. If you're newer to Padlet, you can also look up specific things about how to create Padlets or how to post on a Padlet and check out those videos. This join link just allows you to join a Padlet, but you can also put that URL right here in the board. And then probably the most different thing is our Make section of Padlet, where you can still make a blank board by clicking on this pink box. But we have a lot of options for creating Padlets with AI. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but they're fleshed out here. We're calling them AI recipes for these different kinds of things. You could make a map with AI or a timeline or an assessment or a lesson plan. And then you still have those templates that you're using and some of our featured templates or recipes down below. And then one thing to note too is our settings used to be in the lower left-hand corner and now they're in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to come down to your settings, you can always click on your name to find all of that information. All right. So now that we're oriented to that, I want to take you into some summer resources. And I'll continue putting some links into the chat as we go. Oops. Let me just share that with everyone. There's our summer bingo. So this is actually a Padlet with information from a teacher shared this with my son actually last summer. And I really loved this idea of kind of opening up the idea of a summer learning packet. I know when I was a teacher, there was always a packet of work that I would send home with students to kind of make sure they were still keeping up with reading and writing and math. And we would send home these paper packets and then get it back at the end of the summer, hopefully, if it didn't get lost. So this is just another way to approach this. Put that information on a Padlet. You could share that with students or with families. And this teacher said I was welcome to share this. I loved the way they thought about summer work. So all of these different ideas for things kids could do in the summer, instead of just, read a book and do these math problems, made it a little more creative. Learn 5 new vocabulary words and use them in conversations. Or imagine the history of a place you live or a place you are visiting. Or study a map and what did you notice? Sit under a tree. So you could put anything on here, but this could be kind of like a bingo or choice board for students to tackle. And the fun thing about putting it in Padlet is that they could document what they're doing right here on the Padlet. So I'm going to come to settings. So all of these are just regular posts that I made. And then I'm going to come to settings and turn on comments and reactions. There's a few different kinds of reactions. I'll put a like on here. The instructions up here at the top say, change the color of the post when you complete it, add a comment with words, pictures, or other attachments to share more about what you did. So if I were going to share this with my students, we also have a new feature called Auto Remake Link. So I could make this kind of template that I want all my students to have, and then I could make a copy for each student pretty easily. So I could come to the share arrow right up here, and then I'm going to come to Auto Remake Link, and this is a fairly new feature that we have. And here I'm going to enable the auto remake link. I have a few options I can choose here. And then I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put this in, and it's going to make me my own copy of this whole board. And I can tell because it has my name in parentheses after the name of it. I'm going to put this in the chat too. Just one note that you do have to be logged in to Padlet.com to own a new Padlet, to make a new Padlet, just the way you would in Google when you're making a doc. You have to be logged in to be able to create something. So if you want to try it, you can click on that. Otherwise, you can just see what I'm doing on my screen. So imagining I'm a student and I'm completing this. And so we were going to change colors. So I'm going to change this to blue now that I did it. I have control over this now. So comments, if comments are on, then I can do a lot more here. So I can add a text comment. So I read the book Wonder. And then I can also, with this little plus button right next to the comment, I can also add all these multimedia kinds of attachments. So I could search for an image. So I could say Wonder book by R.J. Palacios. Maybe it'll come up with a book cover or something like that. Oh, perfect. So I'm going to click on that one. Now I have a little picture in here. I could also add some more things if I click down into this comment box. So I could click on this plus, and then I could add myself talking about the book. This isn't quite out yet, but it's about to be out, our video recorder comment. So you can add that as a new post or as a comment here. I could take a picture of something, especially if I'm doing that sit under a tree example. I could take a picture of myself under the tree. I could link to a YouTube video. So a lot of options and a different way to kind of think about that summer work packet that makes it multimedia, online, easily shareable. And also as a teacher, you could see this if students are in the middle, or they could kind of communicate with you if you wanted to do that during the summer as well. And then if I come back to my original thing here, right here, under the auto remake link, I can also see all the Padlets that were created from this link. So right now there's just one extra copy that I just made as an example. But if you share this with all your students, you would see kind of a long list of all of their Padlets that they've made, and you can click into them and kind of keep that organized really easily. When I'm on this Padlet too, if I've asked students to color code it, maybe with things they've done or want to do, I can filter this by color as well. This is another feature of Padlet in this box right here. I can filter by keyword. So maybe I want to filter by book and see all the things that are about books. Or maybe I want to filter by color and see all the things that are completed, which maybe they marked in blue. So it's another way you can kind of view and interact with the Padlet. Also, because all of these, once you did that auto remake link, every student has their own copy of this. So then they can rearrange this as well, and they can edit it. So they could rename this maybe to completed, and then maybe drag the things that they have completed around and change it around to however they want. They could change the background. They could just really make it their own with all these different kinds of posts. All right, and then just one other example. This is just another one, introducing yourself. So this is another one you could make maybe this is more of a back to school thing, or maybe people do this during the summer as well, and they share some information about their favorite things. And again, when you're making posts, in the other example, I was showing more about comments, but when you're making posts, you can also do a lot of things here. You can record video, you can upload images, you can talk about your favorite music by adding kind of a Spotify link here. You can do all kinds of things, and you can also, of course, do text as usual. And in this one, I'll show you, this one has a few more copies made of it. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this is the auto remake link, and all these people have made copies of mine. I've been using this in a lot of training, so there's quite a few here. But I can click back into any of these to kind of see what's happening with any of those copies that I've made. All right. So that's one idea for kind of a replacement of a summer packet that you could do on Padlet. This next one is just to show you a little bit more how you might focus in on a certain kind of media type. So for this one, this was an example of a high school physics class where students all made audio recordings. They reflected on the experiment that they did, and then they recorded that sometimes in pairs or sometimes alone. And you can see down here, when I click on the plus, I have all of these options. If I go to plus 12, and we're just looking at these, there's many different kinds of media, and sometimes you want students to have all of those options. But sometimes you might want to constrain it. So like for this example, if I wanted students to only record audio or only record video, I can do that by constraining the post fields. And that's going to be under settings here. I'm going to go to the settings gear, and then I'm going to scroll down to where it says posts right here. I'm going to click on post fields. So right here, I have a couple of options for how I can customize that little post box that comes up. So first of all, I can go into attachments. And right now, all of them are selected. That's why it said +12 when I opened up that little box. I can turn off all of them and just allow audio recording, since that's what I want to do in this lesson. And actually, I can also require that. So it makes sure that everyone does an audio recording for that. I can also add a custom field here. So I might ask a custom question or put a sentence frame or reminder about what I want them to do. Maybe I'll say, what was your favorite part? And I could also make that required if I want to. And now when I come back to my post box, remember before it said +12 and I saw all those attachment types? Now when I hit plus, I only have this one option because I just set that in my post fields. So now I can click on audio recording and make the recording here. If I record my mic like this, and then I can play back and save it. And remember, it won't let me publish this until I have done all the required things. So I also have to write something down here. My favorite part was something like this. And now I can publish this. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. I need to put it under the question. And then I can publish it, and then it will go up on the page like that. All right, so that shows you how you can kind of help focus in students on one kind of attachment type or a particular kind of activity and guide them a little bit more. This next one, we wanted to dive into a couple of video examples as well. So we've been hearing from a lot of folks that they're interested in doing more video discussion boards, especially now that Flip is going away, or changing, I should say. Some people are looking for other options. And so Padlet has a lot of the features that you could do in Flip. And I'll show you a few examples of what that looks like. So here is an example of a video introduction board. So you can make videos introducing yourself, and then people can comment on it below. So it's a nice way to get to know each other on a video board. As I said, pretty soon there'll be video commenting. So you can also respond with a video and have kind of a conversation back and forth. Here's another example of kind of a guiding question: which season is best and why? And again, you could kind of make that into a conversation or even a debate about what you think about that topic or question. And then this is another board. I know that a lot of us did these during COVID. We made a lot of things online, a lot of videos for students. And I think, they have a lot of value in the summer as well, when we're not going to see our students for a while. So I pulled together some read alouds, and you could do this with a whole group of teachers at your school and just post these up on a Padlet for them. And you could categorize them. This has read alouds up top and some other activities with songs and math games and different things down below. So that could be a nice kind of resource board for your students for the summer as well. And then just to note that we do have, I mentioned that we are kind of connecting with some users who are moving away from Flip. So if you wanted to import anything that you had in Flip, you can do that as well. And we have an upcoming session later, actually, I think it's next week, about video discussions and going a little deeper into how this process would work if you'd really like to use video a lot more on Padlet. And we'll share those details shortly. Okay, this next example, we see Padlet used a lot for kind of like a resource board like this. Sometimes it's a resource board for teachers to share things with each other, but it can also be a nice way to share resources with families or with students, especially for a break like summer break. I know I used to get a lot of questions from families, which games do you recommend? Or my kids love to go on their iPad or love to play games, and how can I continue their kind of learning with some educational games? So this is an example of how you might put those all together, and then you could share this whole web page with, this whole Padlet with your family to access during the summer to link through to some games. So these are just examples. Of course, you could customize these with any links or things that you want to highlight that are specific to your students. And then here is another board playing around with some, and I'm going to show you this later. This one was generated by our Create with AI feature, just having some fun family activities for kids, things like making a family tree, family interview, family tradition. So thinking about all the different ways we can connect with families and fun things that that they might want to do together during the summer, or that they could share back with you or their next year's teacher. And so another great thing that you can share so easily, both with students and with families. And then just a few more summer resources here, a similar idea with useful things. So I know that, we used to send home a lot of things in conferences for families to look over, and was always usually paper-based. So this is just another way that you might get resources to them, help them find things that could be useful or questions they're asking you. You could put that all together in one landing page. Another nice thing is you could put this all together. What we often have like something called like a central wall. So you could have a Padlet that links to all these other Padlets. You could have a main Padlet that links to these summer resources. It links to maybe the summer packet that you have a digital version of on Padlet. And it could link to some other things maybe that students should create on their own. Okay, the next one I wanted to show you is a little bit more about templates. I showed you this a little bit when we were looking at Padlet.com. I'm just going to close out a few windows here. So I'm going to show you how you would use some of the templates here on Padlet.com. So the templates are all in Gallery. They're also, some of them are here at the bottom of the page too, kind of the highlighted ones. But I'll go to Gallery so I can search on all of them. And another great thing I used to love to do with my students was have them make journals, and something else that they could do in summer that could be really fun. So once I find a template that I want, I could either search for it here or I could browse through all of them. So I know that I want the journal template, so I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to get a little preview here of an example journal page. If you want to see the full example, you can click on this one, see example. So I'll do that now. And then there's some kind of sample, so you can just get a sense of what this template is going to look like. And if you want to use something like this, or maybe you want to explore a different template. So you can see, you can put really beautiful images in here that you can search for, and you can just reflect on things that you're doing and write in some sentences here. Again, you can put in all the different media types. So you could do this kind of reflective journal with video or audio, or with drawing, or any of those mediums that we showed you previously. Now, if I want to go back and use this template, instead of clicking on See Example, I'm going to click on Create here. Now it's going to make a blank journal. Sometimes it'll already have the title or some sections in here. And I have instructions in this panel that showed up here. I can go back to that example here if I wanted to, and it gives me some step-by-step, and I can do this, or I can customize it in other ways if I want to. So it lets me know that I can personalize the title and the backgrounds and everything in the settings panel. And if I click on that, it'll open it up for me. I can also use the plus button to put in my first journal entry and attach things. And it tells you what the privacy setting is. So this is set to just private right now, but you could change that in the sharing panel. Another nice thing that you can do with these templates is you can generate sample posts. So right here, if I click on this, it'll automatically put in a couple of example posts for me. And I can use those, or if I don't like one of these, I can come over here and delete that post. I can also, of course, make my own posts. As examples, if I want to have some particular way that I want students to journal. And when I'm done with these instructions, I can click Done over here. And then I have my sample journal, and I can do all the same things I was showing you before. I could make a copy for each student with my auto remake link, or I could even have a shared page where we all kind of contribute to something and just share this link with folks. I could turn comments or likes on and all of that kind of thing. So that's how you might create a summer journal with templates, or you can always create things from scratch. I'll just show you that again. So if I was on Padlet.com, we went in the gallery to create from one of these templates. But if I wanted to make from scratch, I would just come to the make page and start a blank board. And I still am going to have access to all of my options over here. When I open the settings panel, I can change backgrounds, and I can change the format and do all of the things that I want to make it work for me. All right, and here's one more example. My son helped me with this one too, actually. So this is a family tree. So this is the Canvas format. So I'll show you where you can switch the formats in here. If I come to settings, under format, there's a bunch of different options, and I encourage you to kind of play around with all these. I showed you a few at the beginning. The last one, the journal, was in the stream format. I showed you a map earlier. We've been mostly in the grid format in the Padlets I've been sharing, but this one is Canvas. Canvas allows you to, it's kind of the most flexible one. It's not organized into rows or columns, so you can move these things anywhere. You can also make your posts any size in this format. That's the only one that can do that, allow that kind of sizing. And then you can also do this, you can connect posts to each other. And the way to do that, I click on the three dots, and I just say connect to a post. So if I wanted to, and you can connect to multiple, so I'm already connected to a few. If I also want to connect to this one, I could connect that up. And then again, these things are flexible and can move around. So you could make things like a family tree, which could be a fun project. You could also make flow charts or all kinds of different diagrams using the arrows, or you could just have kind of a free form bulletin board where you have posts of different size and it's a little bit more open and flexible. All right, so now I'm going to have us try some things or just interact a little bit. I'm going to put a Padlet into the chat here, and also just want to pause to see if any questions are coming up, Tosh, that you wanted to highlight.
It doesn't look like any questions are in besides just one question about the Google Drive. So Isabel, if you could just email hello@Padlet, we can take a look at that. It's going to be easier to just communicate over email and take some looks at hello@Padlet.com. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. All right, so these are just the Padlets. I put these, this is what I was actually talking about earlier when I said central wall. This is a Padlet that's full of other Padlets. It links to other Padlets. So you could make a landing page like this. For our purposes right now, I'm curious which of these examples looked interesting to you or were your favorite. So if you want to come and join this Padlet, you don't have to log in to get on this Padlet because I put it to the secret setting. I'll show you where that is. If I click on the link here. My visitor permissions are writer so that you can write on it, and the link privacy is set at secret. So that means nobody can find the link if they search on Google. That's why it's secret, but it's also shareable with anyone, and anyone can come and log in and participate here, or doesn't have to log in. I mean, anyone can come here and just participate. So I would love for you to kind of heart any of these boards that you like. You can heart more than one. And you can just let me know kind of which ones resonated with you the most. You can also add any comments here. So I can say something like, I love this board because it's great to hear student voices. We've also heard from a lot of language teachers that they've loved kind of the audio recording piece, or teachers with English language learners where they really want to practice that oral fluency. So you can go ahead and play with this board a little bit. And as you're doing that, I'll show you a few more things too. So I can like these different things. I also have a section down here. If you want to add a post to a particular section, you can click on the plus right next to it. Or if you click on the plus down here, you can always move the post around to the right section. So you can add any ideas for what you would like to try in Padlet as well. So when you have something like this where there's people able to vote on different Padlets, if you come into the settings, you're able to sort this automatically by the number of votes. So right now it's sorted by drag and drop, so it's just where I put it. And then if I click on this, I can sort by the number of likes. And so now you'll see it rearranged by those that have a few likes on them or up at top, and then it will continue rearranging as more people vote on different ones. So that can be a nice thing to use with students in the classroom as well. If you're voting on anything, you could just put it up on a Padlet, the students could vote, and you could sort it automatically by their number of votes. All right, so I'll let you kind of play with that, and I'll take us forward into a few more examples. I also linked here on this Padlet, we have a lot of new features. I'm showing you some of them today. We have over 100 new features in the past year, both from this spring, but also from last year. So I just linked in those articles in case you want to peruse through that and see if any of those resonate with you. All right, so next we're going to go into some of our new AI capabilities. So the first one I wanted to highlight is AI drawing. So this is a way that students or adults can make their own drawings with AI. And I'll show you an example of that. And this is one that we can play with together as well. So I'll put the link to this page in here. So here we are. We've got this page that a lot of people have been participating on, so you can see a lot of very interesting images here. We've been asking teachers who we've been working with to try this feature out, to put in an animal and maybe a favorite food or a favorite activity, and then they can have the post up here. So in order to make a post, I'm going to click on the plus, and you can see we use that post field customization that I showed you earlier to only highlight this AI I can't draw feature. So in order to make a drawing, I'm going to click on this green button, and then I'm gonna put in a prompt. So I'm gonna say, what am I gonna say today? Elephants playing tennis. And then it'll take maybe about 15 seconds and it's going to generate a couple images for me based on my prompt there. And I can always change my prompt and do it again if I want to, but I'm able to make these images that are really fun. Oh, I like the way this elephant is really serving the ball up high there. So I can go ahead and publish this. So this can be a really fun icebreaker to do with students. You all can go ahead and click on the plus button and give that a try. I'll just show you this one more time. You click on the plus button and then you click on this I can't draw button. And then you put the prompt here and you'll get a few options for images to add there. And so that's in the chat for you to try. So this can be a really fun way to have students get to know each other as we've been doing with some teachers. But there's also a bunch of other more academic ways you could use this. And I outlined this on this Padlet if you want to take a look at that later on. So community building and icebreakers is a great way to use this I can't draw feature. But we've been hearing from teachers that they really enjoyed it for some other purposes as well. So some teachers are using it as an oral language prompt, so showing students a picture of something and then having them describe it or talk about it or ask each other questions about it. And, you know, as a teacher, you can make something very detailed and specific to what you're studying or what the vocabulary words that you want to cover. And you can make those images as prompts and have it just be a different way that you're getting students engaged and talking. Similarly, you could do that with writing. So whether you're having students writing a personal narrative or a fictional story or a poem, you could generate some images to help give them ideas, help them brainstorm, and help them get at all of that rich description that we're always practicing with students. Like, for example, in this image, like getting all of these colors described, all these different kinds of flowers in the landscape, and how it might smell or feel, all those different kind of sensory descriptions that can be really fun for students. But if they have a visual, it can really help them think about that rather than only using their imagination or just as a variation on doing it out of their imagination only. Students also could use the I can't draw tool to create their own images based on something they're writing. So this is like a nonfiction presentation. They could generate images for that. They could also do it for fictional writing, and I'll show you an example from a teacher who did that in just a minute. You could also make just personalized graphics for your school or your class based on your class name or something like that. And all of these images are royalty free, so you can download them and use them in other places as well. So this is the one I was just mentioning. This school district and some coaches made this kind of landing page for their teachers with some instructions about how to use I Can't Draw for fantasy writing. And so this is the example. So students were writing these stories and had these different sections. They had like the title and the introduction, exposition, climax, and so on. And then for each section of the story, they generated an image to go along with that. So just another way to kind of move to that presentation mode. And sometimes we want students to draw their own pictures, but this can just be another way to digitally represent their story. We've also seen it used for a couple of other things like this grammar practice. So just to kind of make it a little bit more interesting for students, they were supposed to take a simple sentence and then just make it like more descriptive with a compound sentence formation and then a complex sentence formation. So in addition to just writing those sentences, the teacher asked them to generate an AI image that went along with that, and then they could see each other's and kind of enjoy the visuals as well as the ideas in their sentence. So lots of ways to tie that not only to kind of icebreakers and having fun getting to know each other, but also really specifically to the academic task that you're doing as another way for students to be creative and to get them engaged and excited about creating either kind of wacky images or fun images or beautiful images to go along with what they're learning. And I guess I'll just show you this one more really quick. We also we're working with some teachers and we tried out making self-portraits. So that's something you could do with students or with other teachers as well. And you can see when you mouse over this alt text, you can see the description, the text that they put into the AI image generator. And then we also had them comment on their own post with their actual picture of themselves. So this is the AI version of this teacher. This is the actual picture of her. So it was really fun to kind of play around with AI and learn about how best to prompt the AI, and then have it actually kind of see if you could make something that looks like yourself. So that could be something to try as well. So lots of fun there with that AI image generator. All right, next I'm going to go into the Create with AI. And as I'm doing this too, feel free to keep playing on those boards that I shared in the chat to make your own images. Next I'm going to go, and I started to show you this on Padlet.com. There's a lot of ways you can make a whole Padlet with AI now. So if I'm on Padlet.com and I come over to the Make section, I can click on this button for Create with AI. And then there's also many options here. So I can create with AI, I can create a list of class activities, I can create assessments, I can create lesson plans, rubrics, all kinds of different things, even timelines and maps. So let's try some right now. And I was thinking about summer reading and how it's always great to get those summer reading lists from the library. But let's try to generate one right here. So I'm going to imagine I'm English language arts, and let's say I'm a middle schooler, and the topic is reading, and I'm going to ask for 10 fiction summer reading books and discussion questions. And you can also select the reading level. So if you wanted more basic or more advanced, you could do that. You could also adjust the grade level. So sometimes that's another way to adjust the reading level. If you find that maybe you want even more advanced or even more basic than what it's giving you, you can also adjust the grade level up or down. So let's go intermediate for now. And what's happening in the background here is we are connecting with ChatGPT and giving it that prompt. And then ChatGPT is generating some text and bringing it back to us. And then we're also doing an image search and on the web. We can search for images or videos and other information. So you can see it gave me back a bunch of great books here that I might like to try. A couple of them I've read already with my kids, so maybe I delete those or I focus on the ones that I want to try that are new. And just like any other Padlet, you can edit these however you want. You can move them around. Maybe I want to try this one, or maybe I want to color those. I've already read those, so maybe I want to color code those or delete them. I can edit any of the text in here if I want to change kind of the description. I can do that. I can change the description here. I could turn on commenting here. So it works just like a regular Padlet, but you get it, we can, with this Create with AI, you can generate it very quickly, a lot of content here.
A question in the chat here. Are these features available for school subscriptions or other subscriptions? So the I Can't Draw feature is enabled for every account, regardless of your role. Now, if you're on a Padlet and you don't see it, it might be because that post field was restricted, but pretty much you should see I Can't Draw on every Padlet. The Create with AI is actually only available for accounts listed as teacher. So you'll want to go to your account settings, as Zareen's doing in the upper right corner, click on your settings, and make sure that your account type is set to school staff or teacher, and you'll see those options. If it's set to student, you won't see those options, and you'll want to change your role. If you're part of a Padlet for Schools account where your domain ends in padlet.org, just reach out to your account admin, and they will be able to help you out and change your role. So pretty much all these features are enabled for everyone, besides the Create with AI for students.
Great, great question. Thanks for that, Tosh. I'll show you a couple more because these are just so fun to generate. So the next one I want to show you is ideas for classroom activity, because I also know that you know, teachers take a little bit of a break in the summer, but sometimes they get into some planning for the next school year as well. So this can be a nice time to generate ideas or start to generate some content. So let's take another example. Let's say I'm a 5th grade science teacher, or I'm thinking about that lesson, studying the solar system. And I wanted some fun classroom activities and videos to learn about the solar system. So I'm going to go ahead, same thing. It's going to prompt ChatGPT and do a web search. And then, you know, in about 30 seconds or so, it's going to bring back a whole board for me. Also, I should mention that the way we prompt ChatGPT is totally private, doesn't share any of your personal information. It doesn't store the prompt. So it's just bringing back the information back to you on this Padlet. So it gave me some interactive learning activities, a planet model, solar system game. So these generate some great ideas. Maybe some of these I like, maybe some of these don't seem like the right ones for me. It also brought back some videos that I asked for. So a quick way that I can kind of do research for spicing up some of my activities or related to the content that I'm going to teach and kind of get ready for that. And then we'll just do one more. This one was actually just shared with me. I think today or yesterday, I was talking to a teacher and they were talking about how much they liked this Create with AI feature. And they said that one of the teachers they were working with was having their students do reports on the 50 states in America, and they wanted to get a research website for each student. And they said it was amazing because very quickly, so I'll put that in, very quickly, ChatGPT could bring that back to them and at least have that starting point. So all the students could get that. So really quickly, and I also asked it to organize it by region. So students might have picked a state to work on, and now they have a beginning website to go and start to do their research. You know, of course, you'll probably want to add to this. They might need more information, but it's a really great starting point. And I think it's just taking a minute because there are a lot of states, but it's got the Northeast and the South. And then it will continue to kind of fill out the other sections and have links to a lot of websites. Here it comes, the Midwest. It's continuing to generate. So yeah, you can do a lot of different things on here. I showed you a couple, like the activities and reading list. I'll also put in the chat, I made a bunch of examples just to show what's possible. Okay, now it's coming in with all of the regions here. So yeah, really quickly, it gave me a link, all 50 of those states, and I have something for all my students to start with. And then maybe we can go deeper after that, or they can see what questions they still have and we can find more resources for them. So I just put this link in the chat. These are a bunch of examples that I already generated just to show you what's possible, and you can kind of look at what grade level is most relevant. So these are my kinder through second grade. For those not in the US, that's a 5-year-old to 7-year-old. So here's some phonics activities to learn how to read. There's a reading list, lesson plan. Here's a little bit older students, maybe 10 and 11-year-olds. Generated same, so I put the prompt in yellow here so you can kind of see how I generated this, but same thing, it generates it in about 30 seconds, a whole timeline of Egyptian history. So you can prompt whatever you're studying and it can generate some initial resources. You'll certainly want to kind of check them and make sure that they are, you know, what you want to be sharing, but you can very easily edit them or change them, or even have students do that, kind of check to see if they agree with what's being presented. Here are some assessment polls. So this is another thing that ChatGPT can generate. So you choose the type is assessment. And then I asked for 20 standardized test practice questions on these topics for 8th grade pre-algebra. So a quick way that I can generate some quiz questions or maybe an exit ticket. And I don't have to generate all of that myself. And then I can still, like I said, edit these or change them if I want them to be different or not use all of them. And then for older students, a bunch of classroom activities. These were biology. I used to teach 9th grade biology, so I thought of this. I wish I'd had access to something like this. A lot of great ideas here for how you would learn about cell structure. This is a reading list for like 16 and 17-year-olds with contemporary poems and music lyrics. So different, it's really nice, I think, like in some of these topics, like poetry came to mind in particular, where a lot of the resources we use are kind of older poets or not as much, we don't have maybe as access to current day poets. So you could ask ChatGPT for something like that and generate some of those resources that might not be in your textbooks or might be harder to find. Here's a history of rock and roll timeline. And then I'll show you one more. Oh, the map one. So it can generate maps. So I asked for a history of medicine map. So it gave me some points in history for different inventions. So just a lot of possibilities there. And if you end up using this, we'd love to hear from you too, to see what is really working for you and how, what kinds of things you're creating. Okay, so I'm going to show you one other kind. So that's most of our Create with AI is that kind of board where you put in a prompt and then it brings back a board for you. This, we have a few new types as well, these two on the top. So this one, discussion board. This one is a little bit different. It still uses AI to generate a board, but it generates a kind of a more interactive board. So in this case, a discussion board, and it'll help you come up with the prompt and the setup for that board. So what you do is, and it also takes you step by step through how to set it up. So it's in that way, it's a little bit similar to the templates that I showed earlier. So if I put in the topic, for example, cell phone school policy, maybe I want my students to debate that. Maybe it's, maybe I'm choosing all these grade levels, middle school and high school students. I'm going to generate the board and see what comes up. It's going to bring up some questions for me or some prompts. So it said this could explore the pros and cons of allowing phones in schools, or consider the ways it affects relationships. So these are all really interesting topics. So I can choose one of these and it'll put it up on the board for me. Or I could write my own too. Maybe I like more than one of those and I want to combine it. I actually liked a lot of those questions. So if I come back here, I think, oh, that was really interesting. But I also thought it was really interesting about the piece about relationships and policies. So I could change that however I want to. I could decide if it's more of a question response or a debate. The debate will sometimes have like a pros and cons section. And then when I put in posts here, I can write some sample posts. Or I can have it generate some example posts for me. So here are some example posts for allowing cell phones. So I could click on that if I want to add that one to the board. Even after I add it, I can edit that and change it around some more. This just kind of gets me started. So I could give an example, pro allowing cell phones and against allowing cell phones. And then when I'm ready, I can copy this link to share it. But again, these Padlets are very flexible. I could change the format, I could change the background, I can change anything about it. The Create with AI piece just really helps generate ideas, helps get you started, helps save you time. So that's another kind. And, over the next couple months, we'll be adding more and more to really tools to help teachers with their planning and their all the stuff they do for classroom work to make it a little bit easier and give you quicker access to information. So it doesn't take so much time to come up with things. And also we want to help create activities and things that are engaging for students. So creating more and more tools to make that easier. Okay, so I just went over this discussion board. And yeah, so those are the major pieces that I wanted to review today. I'm just going to pause and see if there were any other questions. I know you've been doing some questions along the way. Tosh, any other questions coming up?
No new questions. The one thing I will say is, yep, and you pulled it up. We have done so many great sessions this year. So they've been so fun. And so I think everyone should definitely go to the Padlet sessions Padlet and check out some of our previous sessions and watch whatever interests you. They're all there.
Yeah, great. So we have a couple up top here that are coming up. I mentioned this one next week is on video collaboration. We're going to do one, and we talked a little bit about AI today, but we'll dive even more deeply into that at the end of June. And then we'll have more coming up in July and August as well. As Tosh mentioned, we've done a lot of great sessions in the past. We've had some different guest speakers from Common Sense Media, from AI-EDU, from code.org. So feel free to go back and check out any of those recordings. Oh, we also have some in some different languages. If that is helpful, we have one in French and one in Spanish that you're welcome to go check out as well. And before we wrap up, we really appreciate your feedback. So we've been figuring out topics that were interesting to people, and we always want to take more feedback to see what was most useful to shape our next sessions. So please take a moment to complete that feedback if you can. And yeah, we're excited to connect with you. If you want to reach out to us in the future, I think I have a slide on here about that as well. You can always email us at hello@padlet.com. We'll put that link to the sessions again. I just got a question. So the upcoming sessions are on this page. Let me go back there. The yellow sessions right here. So this is today's session right now. These two are already scheduled, and we'll have more coming up. We usually kind of schedule about 1 month at a time, but we'll have definitely some coming up in July and August as well. And I was just about to say, feel free to reach out with us. We love to hear from all of you. And I'll put that email hello@padlet.com in the chat. So if you have any questions, anything you're wondering about, also if you have any examples that were really cool, we'd love to see those. We hear every day we hear from teachers more interesting ways that they're using Padlet, and we'd love to kind of hear that and share it with others. So here we are. I'll put also the session resources back in the chat if you want to go back and reference everything. It's kind of all on this page that we've been looking at together. And if there are no final questions, we'll just pause for another 30 seconds to see if there's any last questions. But thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you at some of our future sessions. And yes, please be in touch. Please reach out to us. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.